Welcome to Mindful Musings, Eth-Noh-Tec's new platform for sharing stories and for being with all of you out there. My name is Nancy.
My name is Robert.
And we are Eth-Noh-Tec.
Eth-Noh-Tec.
And today's program is Stories for Peace. And what we're going to attempt to do today is not going to be necessarily easy. So, there are a lot of passions absolutely around the Israeli and the Palestinian situation. And yet it's something that we need to be able to talk about and to express ourselves around. So we're going to start with figuring out what are the rules for engagement that really supports the ability for people to really hear each other. And I'd like to start with Robert telling a little anecdote.
This is a short little fable from China. And there once was a crane, and there once was a clam. And the crane was down by the shoreline and saw the clam, and he jabbed at it with his beak. But the clam was ready, and he clamped down on that beak. And they both struggled together. Hey, let go, said the crane. No, you let go, said the clam. No, you first. No, neither of them were willing to let go. And meanwhile, while they were arguing who should let go first, a fisherman came along, grabbed them both, and had clams and crane with black bean sauce.
So we all have taken positions, and maybe not entirely, but positions are important, but not to the point where you are not able to listen to other people, to allow your heart to be open, your mind to be open, to hear other people, and to help build bridges between people that you might not agree with. So we're going to hopefully do that today, is be able to build bridges. So one of the first things we'd like to start with is a beautiful song that Noa Baum, who was our guest teller today, who referred them to us, and it's an Israeli and a Palestinian who have put together this music. And the first song is called There Must Be Another Way.
There must be another way. Oh, sister, your eyes tell me all my heart really needs to know. Oh, sister, so dear, you and I are here, raising up a voice that is clear. And when I cry for both of us. My pain has no name. And when I cry to the merciless sky and say, there must be another way. There must be another way. عينك بتقول رح يجي يوم وكل الخوف يزول. بعينك إصرار إنه عنا خيار نكمل هالمسار مهما طال. لأنه ما في عنوان وحيد للأحسن. بنادي للمدى للسما العليدة. There must be another way. There must be another way. There must be another way. דרך ארוכה נעבור, דרך כה קשה יחד אל האור. עינך בתقول כל החוף יזול, והדמעות זולגות זורמות שם כאב ללא שם. אנחנו מחכות רק ליום שיבוא אחרי. There must be another way. And when I cry for both of us. My pain has no name. And when I cry to the merciless sky and say, there must be another way. There must be another way. There must be another way.
Wow, that was so beautiful, but really, I don't know about you, but it brought tears to my eyes. My heart was aching. There must be another way. So let us close our eyes just for a moment here and breathe in. Take a deep breath in and let the breath out. Breathe in through your nose. Let the breath out through your mouth. Again, breathe in, and as you breathe in, chant to yourself, there must be another way. And as you let the breath out, there must be another way. Breathe in, breathe out. If you can, put your feet on the ground and feel the grounding that we all need as we go through these difficult issues in our lives. Feet on the ground, and allow the energy from the earth to go up through your body. Let it reach for the heavens through the top of your head. Breathe in and breathe out. Thank you. And now, slowly open your eyes and come back to the room. So, what are we going to do today? Well, the rest of this evening is going to be our stories, but also Noa Baum is going to read from her book, A Land Twice Promised, and excerpts from her brilliant performance piece, A Land Twice Promised.
Where she gives voice to her reference point as an Israeli woman, and with the neighbor she ends up meeting, who's Palestinian. And at first they're very hesitant and wary of each other, but then when they find out they really do have common ground, it really shows what it takes to build a bridge of peace.
And also a big welcome to Noa Baum, who is here with us today. Well, we're going to start with our own story that we hope can shed a little bit of, ways of thinking about what's going on. And Robert, you want to introduce it?
Okay, so as Nancy's moving to the performance stage, we'll get set for this one over here. So this story is from the Sufi tradition, the stories that come from Pakistan in that Sufi tradition. And when we found it, we thought it was a perfect message in it. And it's called The Rumor. And let me do some minor adjustment here. And adjust that right there. Okay. And I'll move to the stage, my turn. And again, the story from the Sufi tradition of Pakistan, The Rumor.
There once was a town, a lovely
Oh,
town.
lovely people, some tall, some round,
Forests and gardens with paths to stroll.
and places of worship to bare one's soul.
Schools for children. Oh, look, smiling faces.
And bustling crowds at the marketplaces. Now, In this town, there were two neighborhoods side by side.
and between them a beautifully decorated wall with a simple carved gateway through which to pass,
One neighborhood lived west of the wall.
and the other east. Two neighborhoods side by side.
Now, one day, a man from the west side was passing through that gate into the east side of town.
The man was rubbing his eyes.
Look, Mother, blurted the young boy. Look, that man from the west side. He has tears down his cheek.
Hush, child, his mother signaled. Perhaps he is crying because someone has died on the other side.
Died? Someone has died on the other side?
Unbeknownst to mother and child, the tearing man from the west had just finished cutting onions to bring to the east side to add to his friend's curried stew.
But soon, mothers and children on the east side were muttering, Did you hear?
Did you hear?
Someone has died on the other side.
Died on the other side?
A death? Or a death on the west side?
A death? A death? And
a
a rumor was born.
Within moments, that rumor on the east side grew loud enough to be heard over on the west side.
What's this I hear? Cocked the ear of a west side neighbor. Oh, someone shouted death on the other side. Someone has died on the east side.
Someone has died on the east
Oh,
side?
over there.
I heard it too.
Two you say?
Then that makes three.
Oh my God, 3 deaths. 3 deaths on the east side? Oh no.
And soon the 3 turned to 5.
And 5 to 10.
10 to then 20.
24.
Oh, as many as 100.
Maybe more.
They're
dropping
dropping
like
like
flies.
Now, the neighbors on the east could be heard on the west side, and that further alarmed those on the east. And
Back and forth the cries traveled over the wall, and one could only guess.
Something horrendous.
Something horrible
Oh, something hideous.
on the other side.
And the speculative death count mounted by and by.
Now, luckily there were wise elders of both westerly and easterly persuasion.
Oh, they tried reasoning with their
Yes.
respective communities.
Stay calm.
Stay wise.
Why not send someone over to the other side to find out the truth? The truth?
What? Are you crazy? Who would dare go on that other side into that gateway to such a dangerous, deadly tragedy?
Unfortunately, as all too often, the wise are far outnumbered.
Slam went the gate as the door was nailed up on both sides. Tap, 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 tap.
Tap it. For all we know, it's a
Plague!
Ah! And another rumor was born. It infected one fearful ear to the next, leaving panic in its wake.
And that panic poured over one side of the wall, then back again, spreading faster than a real plague would.
We'll all be doomed.
We'll all be entombed.
Someone do something.
The two
Neighborhoods
neighborhoods.
fumed.
And so, law and order intervened and a total evacuation was decreed.
The two neighborhoods fled for their lives, one heading east,
The other to the west.
deserting their once lovely town,
Empty were the houses of people, some tall, some round.
deserting their schools. Look, no smiling faces.
Gone were the crowds at the marketplaces.
Two neighborhoods once side by side, in opposite directions, settled far and wide. Two new towns, aged old in time, never remembering their once common ground.
Now their final rumor was forever cast in history, their heroic deeds and clever perceptions passed down with passion from generation to generation. Oh, it was a harrowing triumph
Oh, a tale of narrow escape.
from the imminent doom of the
Others, unimaginable.
evil. Back again. Here we go. Back again. Ooh, with a little adjustment there.
So, oh my, what's happened?
I think there we go. Here we are.
Yes. Well, yes, some things start the way they start and aren't good to start that way, but they do, and the results are pretty horrible. So we need to be careful. Remember that old game called Telephone?
Rumors spread.
Yes, yes. Well, now I would like to present to you a little short documentary on two men who started Combatants for Peace. And this is also something that Noah sent to us to show you. So let's listen to that right now.
The context was the second Intifada. So it was really a historical triggering moment for many of us to accept the invitation that came through friends to meet secretly and illegally with Israeli that just left the army right now, like recently. So the intention was, honesty, is to change them. That was the truth as a strategy of that we would use. That was the intention. And no one of us imagined that this dream will come true later on to create a joint Israeli-Palestinian non-violence movement.
I think I had fear. Fear is the first thing that comes to my mind. I was afraid because it will be the first time that I'm going to the occupied territories without a weapon, without a gun. So that intuitively was a threat to me. But I think it's important to understand that it was the middle of the second Intifada and hopelessness was all over. So I had the sense of hope, doing something that will break and change the status quo.
My personal experience, my personal story as ex-prisoner, devoted myself to the cause from my childhood. I seen people changing, and the change is not really exceptional for certain visionary people. It's a common behavior that we human could change. I believe in that. Really opening the heart to what we call the other, and imagining ourselves in their feet, it really brings us to a place where we could understand. We don't have to agree.
When we founded Combatants for Peace, we thought to start with our personal stories, with our testimonies, with our experience in violence, and to share it as an action of taking responsibility of what we have done in the past. But along the way, we realized that we are actually make our way by walking. On one hand, we are continuously doing this dialogue, reconciliation, and rehumanization process. And on the other hand, we are on the ground resisting the occupation and the apartheid, doing a lot of non-violent activities. What we've found along the way is that these are not parallel lanes or paths. These are intertwined journeys. They are completing each other.
As we say, one leg in reality and one leg in this vision dream. And that's what all Combatants for Peace is about, in my eyes.
The movement started like in 2006. It was by ex-compats, Palestinians and Israelis who spent time in jail or who were part of the Israeli army. But today the movement is more inclusive. It's open to everyone. Members don't need to be ex-compats to become members. It's open for women, for different youth also. So it's more inclusive, and it's also changed the way that we work because it's more inclusive and we all support the same cause. We're all co-resisting together to end occupation and bring justice and equality to this region.
Aside what we're doing in the field, on the ground, it's very important also to deliver our message to the young generation, working with them and expose them for a different narrative, what they know.
שמרי נפשך כוכך שמרי שמרי נפשך שמרי חייך בינתך.
Every time we have an activity or like an event, this is always the light that we can continue because we feel that we are making a change on the ground. We can make a difference, and that's why we keep going. That's what motivates us. Just seeing the two sides coming together and fighting for the ending of the occupation for both sides, so that both people can live in a future that is has freedom for both.
Peace and justice in this region will happen one day. It must happen. I think it will require maybe a lot of effort and maybe a lot of challenge on the way. But there is not really other way, like for the long terms.
זה לכאורה רק ערב קיץ טוב, ידוע וישן, שבא לחסד ולרחמים, לא למורא ולא לרחש חשדות ודבר אשם.
Thank you. Thank you. And now let's hear from Noa, who is definitely a combatant for peace.
Noa has been part of the storytelling community for decades. She lives on the East Coast, but when we do get to hear her perform, as we did in Sacramento earlier this year, powerful stories, giving voice to Palestinian and Israeli women and people for peace. Just a wonderful heart. I just really adore her work and is so proud to have her part of our program.
And so, thank you, Noa, for being with us. Thank you for all the ways you've contributed to this evening. And let's pin Noa.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Tasha, can you spotlight?
Can you give her the full screen?
Yeah.
She is pinned. Yeah, she's pinned, so I'm not sure.
This is the No-Tec and Eth-No-Tec.
Happens every time.
Should I wait or can I start talking?
Yes, of course, you
I
can
can
start talking.
There you go.
So thanks for being here. Thanks, Nancy and Robert, for inviting me and for being open to widening the lens to include some more voices. This is a really hard time for me, standing here before you, sitting here before you, with a pretty shattered heart. Combatants for Peace are my heroes. They're kind of like the light for me. We just had them at my synagogue a couple weeks ago. Achinam, Nini, and Mira Awad that you heard at the beginning are the lights for me. So these are people that have been fighting for peace for a very, very long time. And it's fragile, peace building. And it can be dashed in a moment, as we've seen in October 7th. So it feels almost surrealistic to be sitting here with you talking about this when the world is on fire. But still, I want to share a little bit of my story. Jumana and I met on the green grass of Davis, California. It was a family potluck, and she was holding her baby boy and I was holding mine. She had the kind of beauty that I recognized from home, so I walked up to her. What's his name? Tamer. And yours? Itai. Where are you from? Jerusalem. Near Ramallah, actually. I'm from Jerusalem too. Her American husband stepped right in. My wife is a Palestinian, you know. As if I didn't know. I just didn't know if she'd want to talk to me. You see, I grew up in Jerusalem. I grew up in a divided city where the buildings are made of chiseled stones, white, cream, gray. I grew up a proud Israeli Jew in a country that came into existence only 10 years before I was born. I exist because this land called Palestine was under British rule before 1948, and the British allowed only a certain number of Jews to receive entry certificates from Eastern Europe. My grandfather, my father's father, was smart enough to see the writing on the wall, and he got those certificates, and he and his wife and my father and his brother left Prague, Czechoslovakia, exactly 3 weeks before Hitler entered it. I exist because my maternal grandfather, Mordechai, my mother's father, was wealthy enough in Poland, Eastern Poland, which went back and forth between Germany and Poland, and he was rich enough to purchase those certificates. Everyone else in the extended family is gone. On the Sabbath, my grandmother would light candles and she would cover her eyes and mutter names, long, long, long lists of them. Her mother and father, her brothers and sisters, their husbands and wives and children, so many children. All gone. The Nazis took them. Yimach shmam. When my grandmother hears the word Arab, she says, "Hu, Yimach shmam." May their name be erased. Her son, Yaakov, was killed in 1948 in the war of our independence. When I was a little girl, I used to lie awake at night, and all the what ifs just rolling in my brain. What if Saba Kamil didn't get those certificates? What if Saba Mordechai wasn't rich enough to buy them? My entire being is such a huge, almost never. I come from a place where the news is on the radio 24 hours a day. On the buses, the drivers turn the volume up and all conversations stop. Everyone listens. There's always something. Bombs in the marketplace, buses blowing up, and wars. Wars. But there's no choice. En brera. That was the mantra that I grew up with. There's no choice. They want to throw us into the sea. There's no choice. We don't want wars, but what can we do? There's no choice. You cannot trust them. Arabs, they stab you in the back. There's no choice. They only understand force. They don't want us here. They hate us. They don't want us here. I was never taught to hate them. It's just that they hate us and we have no choice but to defend ourselves. Jumana and I watched our children play on the green grass of America. Tamara and Itai were friends in kindergarten, and they spent hours running on that green grass playing combating Pokemon. And we watched them grow without the fear. And no one put it in words, but each of us knew. If we were back home now, my son would grow up to go to the army when he's 18 years old. He would check IDs at roadblocks. Her son would grow up to arrive at the checkpoint, throw stones at the oppressor. Slowly and cautiously, over the years, Jumana and I did start to talk. In the park, at the kitchen table, hours on the phone. For a long time, she said, I don't have a story. She still says it to this day. I'm not a typical case. My people are being slaughtered. My people are being killed every single day. Nobody in my family ever died, thank God. My life is sheltered. I live here. My life is sheltered. I left such a long time ago. I'm not a typical case. But she agreed to tell me her stories. And I came over and I started asking questions. For the first time in my life, I heard what it actually feels like to be a Palestinian growing up under Israeli occupation. She told me how when she was about 10, she saw a 14-year-old boy being beaten by soldiers. And that was the first time in her life that she understood the meaning of the word hate. And I remember I felt like somebody just kicked me in the gut. It was painful. Those soldiers that terrified and haunted her entire childhood were our heroes, our symbol of security. Everyone that turned 18 and went to the army, including my brother. It was so painful to listen to her. But I continued because I insisted, and she was finally telling me her story. And eventually, we started talking about our history. And I would say something that was a historical truth, a fact from the books, and she would look at me and say, but that's not true at all, that's Zionist propaganda. And then she would say something that was the truth with a capital T from the history books, from what she knew. And I'd say, but that's not true at all. That's not the way it happened. That's Arab propaganda. And then we started to argue. And she said, look at us. We're getting defensive. And we laughed. I picked up the baby so she could go make a soft-boiled egg for the other boys, and we continued to talk. And there was never a moment that I felt I can't talk to this person. And that experience was so powerful that I decided I needed to do something. Now, I used to go to demonstrations for years, and they just left me angry. And I thought, I'm a storyteller. Maybe I could do something with what I know how to do. And so I created a one-woman show that I'm sure many of you have seen, called The Land Twice Promised, that tells our stories and the stories of our mothers that echo these contradicting national narratives of our people. And eventually I wrote a book that tells the story of how I came to create it. And I want to read to you a couple excerpts from the book, if that's okay. I kind of lost track of time, so Nancy and Robert, you just cut me whenever you need to, okay?
Okay.
So, I mean, the book kind of tells the journey of growing up in Jerusalem with a particular narrative that I grew up with a particular family that I come from, all the way through becoming a storyteller and coming to America and meeting her and the conversations that led to the creation of the piece and the whole process of creating the piece, and then the transformations that happened to me in my life and my relationships with my mother, and for some audiences, as a result of the show. So that's kind of like the overview of the book. But let me just read you a couple of excerpts. Everybody still awake? Okay. Thumbs up. Zoom is like weird place. Okay. I was almost 17 years old. We were in Paris for my father's sabbatical, and I had saved all my babysitting money and lobbied hard to go to London for 2 weeks with a friend without adults. In my journal from August 1975, I wrote, "It's been ages since I wrote, and so much has happened. We were at the Wax Museum and the changing of the guards at Buckingham Palace and at the Tower and all the banal places of your average tourist. One of the most wonderful experiences was on Sunday. We met a group of Israeli teenagers who are here as part of an international program of young scientists, and together with them, we went to Hyde Park to listen to the democracy. There was all sorts of nonsense, and one interesting speaker who talked about anarchism. His speech was nice and interesting and even logical, but completely not practical. Then a large crowd gathered around a stage of an idiotic Palestinian that spoke with no intelligence and no shape or form and just babbled nonsense. There were more Israelis there than Arabs, and they started yelling at him and answering him furiously. It was raging and lively. Suddenly, there were thousands of Israelis and Jews. At a certain point, they saw that there was no point in arguing with him at all, in particular since the Israeli English is pretty lame. So we started to sing, and the song turned into a huge roar of dozens of enthusiastic Israelis, and the roar became an exciting hora dance. Everything was spinning in rhythm and enthusiasm, while the defeated speaker stood astonished on the stage, making last attempts to talk, but his voice was drowned in the sea of roars. Am Yisrael Chai, the Israel nation lives. And all that remained was a handful of silly Palestinians with their leader and the flags and the excited, boisterous dancing crowd. It was truly an experience. I was so excited and moved. Suddenly, one felt that one was a people, that you do belong, and everyone is together, ultimately united. I don't remember much of what that Palestinian man said. It's not as if I was actually listening to him. There were things like the Zionist oppressors and free Palestine. I remember his passion and anger, his flag held up high. The mere association of Zionism with oppression and occupation meant only one thing, that my home, my Israel, all that I know and love, should not exist. What I do remember is the fear that swelled up immediately as indignation and righteous anger and erupted with that elated sense of belonging, singing and dancing with the roaring crowd. I remember the indescribable ecstasy, that feeling you get when the marching band plays or the national anthem is sung, or you see your flag fluttering in the breeze. The goosebumps crawling all over when your team wins or your country earns a gold medal at the Olympics. That overwhelming, gushing welling up of emotions too big for words that only the brass and drums can express when you're 17 and more than anything want to belong. It was so good to feel that pride. My people, my nation, mine. We were one. That encounter in Hyde Park validated everything I knew about who I was, everything that I knew and breathed and heard all through my childhood growing up in Jerusalem. From the moment I can remember, I knew these words. They hate us. They don't want us here. They hate us. But why? No one ever had a satisfying answer. It was the question that haunted me all through my young life. So that was the opening of the book. Now I want to share an excerpt from one of my conversations with Jumana. So once we started talking and I realized that, this was really incredible, I started bringing a tape recorder and recording our conversations. The baby woke up and needed a change of diaper, and we turned the tape recorder off. I got up and rinsed the dishes as my mother's words crescendoed into my consciousness. This is after I've listened to her tell some part of her story. What do they want from our lives? Look at them. What are they lacking? What? They lived with sewage running in the street before we came in 1967. Where did they have such prosperity before? Running water, electricity, tourism. What do they want? What are they lacking? I fantasized about playing these recorded conversations to my mother. Would she sit long enough to listen? Jumana came back into the kitchen and we turned the recorder back on. And this is now Jumana's story. One of my earliest memories, I was 5 or 6. They demolished a house, the first in our neighborhood. It still happens every day, Some soldiers were attacked in a neighborhood near Ramallah, and the house was demolished the next day. You see, after the war of 67, no one was allowed to have any weapons. But some people had guns that they used for hunting. My grandfather and my uncles, they didn't have cows, so they used to hunt for food, shoot birds or rabbits. That was the meat that they would eat. So some people held on to their guns. But after 1967, under occupation, I think the law was, still is, that if guns were discovered, any kinds of weapons in your house, that was cause for demolition. I'm skipping a little bit. I'm not sure. I remember the guns were the reason for the house to be demolished. I remember clearly that day when they brought in the bulldozers. It was late afternoon. We were up the hill, and this house was on another little hill on the other side of the street. She stopped and was quiet for a moment. We could hear the sprinklers outside. Her eyes somewhere far away, she said. I remember exactly where it was on that hill. It was kind of halfway up this low hill. I remember the rubble, the way it looked for several days afterwards. There were a couple of trees outside and a bunch of rubble. We were on the veranda, just kind of watching from the veranda, my mom hugging us, my brother and I, watching while they were demolishing that house. In recent years, they do it all at night to avoid the hoopla. Early on in the occupation, they did it during the day to show everyone, so everyone would learn a lesson. There were 1 or 2 bulldozers. I remember the stones coming down. I remember after everything was cleared, all the furniture outside, the beds, the dressers, the pantry, everything just outside. And you could see the steel rods that were used when you build with concrete. You could see them sticking out, and it's mangled, and the concrete is all crumpled everywhere. It was a large house, 3 stories. The parents lived there with 2 sons and their wives and children. 3 families that live in the same house. That's typical of Arabic families. So it was a relatively large family. I remember the weeping, the women, people in the neighborhood, everyone crying, very upset, this helplessness. There's nothing you can do about it. This is the army, the Israeli army, it's the law. They come here with their guns and jeeps and bulldozers, and we can't fight them. Of course, I had known about house demolitions, and ever since I heard the professors from Bir Zayt back in my university days, I'd opposed the policy of collective punishment. But on the rare occasion when I'd heard about house demolition on the news, I still thought, well, the army probably had no choice. What can we do? No matter my opinions, my heart so wanted to trust our boys, to believe that our army was in charge and knew what they were doing. And even now, as I listen to her, the familiar voices, even those I've tried so fiercely to rebel against, still echoed in my head. There's no other choice. The only way to fight these terrorists is with force. It is sad and unfortunate, but we'll teach them. What can we do? Let them kill us? The only language Arabs understand is force. It was always so much easier not to think about what it really meant or looked like. It was so much harder to listen now. I could see the mangled rebar. I could taste the dust in my mouth. I could hear the agonizing weeping of the women. I felt the unease spread through me. I wanted it to go away. But like a child staring at a stain of spilled juice spreading on a white tablecloth, I watched it, unable to move or try to clean it up. I wanted it to go away, but didn't want to stop listening. I was the one who asked, and she was finally telling me her stories. We sipped sweet tea with mint leaves from the garden. She nursed the baby. We continued to talk. So those were a couple of excerpts I wanted to share with you. So
Thank you, Noah. Is that feel complete for you?
well, you know,
Time we have?
yeah, I think we're running out of time, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of excerpts. I hope you get the book and read it all.
Of course.
But I just want to say that right now, it's even harder because when people are in the midst of such trauma, there's absolutely no ability to hold anything right now. I was just talking to a very, very good friend of mine who's, I mean, she's the one who made me into a leftist. You know, she was fighting against the occupation and doing dialogue groups with Palestinians long before I was even politically conscious. And she's so devastated now with what's going on. But she also can't hold anything. I can't tell her about anything that's going on because she can't handle it. She's just trying to survive. So people are kind of holding on. I feel like our people have been abducted by terrorists on both sides, and so it's a really, really difficult time for people right now. And I just want to encourage everyone who's listening that if you really want to help, support the people that are fighting for peace, support combatants for peace, support the people that are fighting for peace, rather than be just either pro-Israeli or pro-Palestinian. Support the Israelis and Palestinians that are fighting together. So thank you.
Right. And that's what this evening is really about, is to find the common ground, to be able to have positions, but hopefully another position will be, my door flew open, will be, you know, the position of peace rather than, you know, who's right or wrong and who's the evil and who's more evil and so on. We have another story for you. And then what we would like is to open it for a little while for a little general discussion, just so people can get stuff out. And then we're going to break up into small groups. And then after that, another sharing of ideas and so on. And then we'll end with another song from that same two wonderful women. So we have another story for you, and we hope that our stories are somehow lending or broadening or extending, expanding what is happening.
So a little bit of a techno break here as we change scenes here. Okay, and move this one here. And just some lighting there. It's a little bit on the, okay. And the story is from Tibet. It's called Bodhichitta. There once was a rugged wilderness, sparsely populated by two warring feudal clans. Each was nestled in two lush valleys, flanking either side of the snow-capped mountain ridge.
Ruthlessness and violence was the law of the land, for it was common for each clan to send marauding warriors into each other's territories to raid, pillage, and murder amongst their arch rivals, to avenge some previous atrocity, some previous horror, resulting in endless retaliation.
Their hatred for each other was as solid as granite and as jagged as the mountain tops that knifed between these two rival villages.
One day, a stranger appeared, a monk, wandering the narrow passage along the high ridge of the mountaintop that separated the two villages. He gazed down into one of the valleys and saw children gathering flowers in the glen.
He saw the women washing clothes and saw them singing in songs by the river.
Men tending yaks.
The monk then turned and peered down to the other side and saw the same life of serenity. Children playing, laughing with their grandparents, men thatching a roof, the women tending the fire.
Suddenly, the villagers on one side looked up to the mountain pass. Look, a stranger!
The monk then turned to the other side and saw that the men of that village also saw him and began pointing and shouting at him.
In that one moment, each peaceful scene changed dramatically. On both sides, he heard shouts and saw clansmen waving their arms.
The mothers quickly rounded up their children.
Elders hobbling back into their homes.
The once gentle shepherds grabbed their swords and their spears and transformed into fierce warriors. They were ready for war. The monks stood and watched as these bands of fierce warriors from each side of the mountain scurry up the switchback trail to ward off their assumed attacker.
Spy!
Spy!
Spy, a scout from your enemy village!
Soon more will come.
We must kill him!
And we will lose our loved ones.
And the warriors charged to the summit.
When each saw their counterparts, both seething with hatred for one another, they raised their blades ready for attack when...
What is this?
They saw the stranger lying in the middle of the path that separated the two warring clans.
Is he one of yours?
Now he must be one of yours. Look how this coward awaits his death.
Both sides inched forward, ready to butcher the reclining man, when the stranger suddenly lifted his head from the ground and spoke.
I wouldn't get too close if I were you.
What? Are you a leper? Are you insane? What would put you in the path of such destruction, old fool?
There is a condition that is highly contagious.
Oh? What is it? What are the symptoms?
It is so contagious that at first you may not even notice that you have it. And if you get it, at first you feel a slight trembling deep in your soul, and it moves into your head. Then you become disoriented, and then it moves down, this time into your heart. And when that happens, a stillness engulfs you. Oh, when it gets that far, your life as you know it is over.
The stranger, our monk, looked at the warriors whose weapons now trembled by their sides. Their belligerence and bravado quelled. The stranger gazed at each warrior with an inviting calmness and confessed,
I have it. Yes, I have it in a most serious way. It's called Bodhichitta.
Bodhichitta?
Bodhichitta.
Bodhichitta?
Bodhichitta.
Run, everyone,
Bodhichitta,
run!
Bodhichitta.
Bodhichitta!
That evening, back in the village, the lone warrior sat at home in his favorite chair, staring at the floor, mulling over of what he had witnessed on the mountaintop.
He looked at his family, the children giggling and playing games on the floor, the grandmother rocking the newborn, his wife brushing her hair and singing to herself.
He choked back his tears and then felt something stir in his throat. A lump? Oh no.
He tried to swallow. The lump grew larger. Then he felt a throbbing ache in his chest. He began trembling.
What's this? I've got bodhicitta. Oh, my family. What if they get it from me? Oh, my loved ones, and all of this would be gone.
He was sure it was just the beginning of this deadly bodhicitta.
But he didn't want to let on to his family, and so he feigned a smile and began singing with his wife.
She smiled back at him. It had been years since he had sung with her.
She hasn't smiled at me like that in a long time. These might be our last moments that I share with her.
Ji jang ji mo de la manju, ji jang ji mo de la manju, xin zai ta bei mo la, ja kan sili ka bei da, ja kan sili da bei da. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain ridge, another warrior too felt the early symptoms. A stirring in his soul, his mind disoriented, his thoughts pounded with his pounding heart as he thought of the contagious Bodhichitta.
He turned to his sister and described what he had witnessed on the mountaintop and what the ailing stranger must have given him.
Soon the Bodhichitta passed on to a farmer and his wife,
And then to their children.
and the children to their playmates,
And then to their parents.
and
then
on until no one was spared this
Bodhichitta.
Bodhichitta.
One day, a villager from one side of the mountain was passing over that mountain ridge when he encountered another traveler from the enemy village.
You!
Bodhichitta.
Yes, we all have it. The entire village has been infected.
Ours too. No one is untouched by this Bodhichitta. Life is so different now. Our people have surrendered to it. No one wants to waste time on foolish things. No more thoughts of revenge. No more hatred.
We too hold no more resentment, no more hatred, not even towards all of you. We only wish to enjoy these remaining and precious moments with our loved ones.
The two men nodded knowingly and then turned and walked down the path to their own villages. Meanwhile, high on the ridge above the two valleys, the monk rose and stepped forward into the light. He straightened his robe and smiled.
He looked down on one side of the mountain. He saw children playing, grandparents tending to newborns.
Children playing with the grandparents and wives, singing with their husbands.
He looked down on the other side of the mountain and saw the same thing.
On both sides, their enemies had been annihilated. They had met their end, but not their death.
For they were very much alive.
Infected by the contagious Bodhichitta.
Bodhichitta, the compassionate heart of an awakened mind. Thank you.
Thank
So
you
now
for
we're
opening
switching-
my heart. That was funny. Thank you.
Story from Tibet, Bodhichitta.
So now let's open it up just a little bit for anyone who has something burning they would like to say before we go into our breakout rooms. So just ask to unmute everybody if you want, please. And if you have something that you'd love to say, just raise your hand and we'll try and find you. Or just start speaking. So, anyone? Because if not, we can go on. I don't think anyone's hands are up. All right, then we will go on to our breakout rooms. And what we'd like you to do is discuss with each other, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can do?
And as you are in the breakout rooms too, some basic ground rules that will help make everyone feel safe. This is not the time for position locking down and concretizing your already set beliefs, but to be an open
yes,
listening
listening
from the heart.
from the heart. All right. So You will be shown to join a group. If you don't want to join a group, that's fine too, but you could at least maybe be there and not speak or just listen or stay in the main room. The breakout room is for 15 minutes. So 15 minutes.
So Tashi, our assistant, will start clustering you in small groups.
Yeah, it'll be random.
And do you guys want me to be in a breakout room too?
Do you want to be? That's
I mean, I
okay.
could, but just to listen.
Okay, yeah, okay, just to listen. Or maybe not. What do you think? Let's not. Let's have them. You and us
among
will
each
be in our own group.
Breakout room.
Okay.
There's 3 of us. We'll be happy.
There's some people
And some
still.
there we go. Taking a little
So
bit of
Sarah
time.
doesn't want to be in a group, or
Oh, there's Preeti.
Priti doesn't want to Nasheed not being in a group.
Hi. I won't be able to join a breakout room today. Sorry.
Great to see you again.
I
Hi,
know.
Pretty, my love. Hello.
I heard your reading and all of the story. I'm like, wow, wow.
Well, your community there in India is doing some marvelous work with storytelling and strengthening communities from the heart with your stories. Thank you.
I hope the breakout room still hear us speaking.
They might.
They won't.
Okay, I'm with you all. Can you hear me?
Turn off the video. I'm here for a little bit longer. I will see you later.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you asked Oni if you could show a video. I don't think we have time.
It's only 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
Can you tell me what it's about?
Okay.
Show 250.
What was the last thing you said in your story that you just did? What was the words?
Bodhichitta.
What did it mean?
Compassionate heart with an open mind.
Awakened mind.
Okay, a compassionate heart with an open mind.
An awakened mind.
It's a
With
Buddhist.
an awakened mind?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. And what I've been really having a hard time taking in what's going on with people that are hungry and trying to get food on the news, being killed and shot at. And I agree with Noah that you can't blame either side because they're both humans on both sides.
Well, there are
And,
circumstances, yes, on both sides.
yes, there's circumstances, and they're both human. So I want to show a video. Some people are very closed-minded when it comes to religion, and all this is a spiritually based war. Some of them feel like it's a spiritual war that they're fighting, even when it's involving the same people, basically. And so as a Christian, I don't mean to be as a holy roller Christian, I'm not, but I have a video that I think Noah would love to see. I know Sarah would, and Nasheed would as well. It's 2 minutes and 50, it's 250 minutes, 2 minutes and 50. And I'm not showing this to convert anyone because my faith, I'm a Jehovah's Witness, and we're famous for trying to convert people. But I was raised a Catholic, and I studied as a Muslim before I became a Jehovah's Witness. And this video is about a convention that was held in Israel in 2014, where Palestinians and Jewish people actually came together. It's from what year? Yeah, about 2014. So that's why I want to show it in a small group, but I would love to share it with you all.
Maybe put the
If
link
you
in.
have an open mind or open heart, as you say, and all of that, I think it would be interesting because we always hear about what's going on with the with Israel and with Palestine. And there's a lot of wars going on all over the world. And I think one of the most hated Christian groups are Jehovah's Witnesses. From my experience for 25 years being a Jehovah's Witness. So that's what I wanted to share.
Is there a way to put the link for
link in the
us?
chat.
I could put the link up there too if you want to see it.
Yeah, maybe
Because I
put it in
think
the
that way we
chat.
could share it with everyone.
They have the option to look at it.
Yeah.
At their leisure. Yeah.
Because I'm just wondering if it has anything more to add, because I think what all our stories are about is about coming together and sharing.
Well, it does have a lot more to add, and it has a more to add is that it's a wider view than just the views that we're hearing now. And it shows that there are the peace groups that Noah, we saw in the earlier videos, they aren't the only ones that are striving for peace, that we're striving for peace as well. And I just thought it was appropriate since it is a spiritual war that's going on between the Palestinians and Israeli. So that's fine. If you don't want to watch it, I can put the link in the chapter and you can watch it.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Yes.
I really appreciate you bringing that dimension in. There's certainly the religious and spiritual war that's going on. I mean, there's right now the people who are leading it are the most religious fanatics on both sides. But I think at the heart of it, it's really about national identity and territory. So it has many, many, many layers. And you're right that the religious and spiritual component is part of it, but it's not what started it. And it's not the main drive here.
Oh, it has many elements to it.
Right.
Of course. But all I'm saying is it has many elements to it, and I understand that. There's wars going on all over Africa that are happening because of religious differences. And, we have brothers and sisters in jail in Russia right now, and our property has been confiscated in Russia right now because we don't go to war, okay? And they take our message very seriously. So they've taken several of our buildings and they've thrown several of our brothers and sisters in jail for the preaching work that we do. And so I can put the link in the chapter, in the chat. If you don't want to watch it, that's fine.
Okay.
So it's in the chat, and
great. Tashi,
it goes to
how
our
much time do
official
we have
website.
left in the breakout rooms?
There you go.
Have like maybe 3 to 5 minutes left.
3 or 5, which?
I will certainly watch it. Thank you.
I put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
Great.
I know
Think
people
about
are
5.
like I said, we're the most hated Christian groups out here. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
you bring up
it's
a
in the
good point
chat.
that, what we hear these very well orchestrated propaganda and news bites and short little clips, but even from the so-called free world of democracy, we're not hearing so many voices. So thank you for offering one more dimension of this thing. And we'll share that with the community.
Yeah, I was just seeing how much time we had left and if we could watch it, but I don't think we have enough time to make you, co-host so you can share it, or maybe if Tashi could do it. But
I mean,
think,
I can play it from my computer.
But do we have the time?
Let me see.
I don't think we have time now.
It's 2 minutes.
Yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Because we also want to do shares with the community. and
Okay,
that's
well,
gonna
I'd like to say I enjoyed the stories, and they were all very profound and thought-provoking. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Oni. Right. Great. Okay. So
Sarah, you didn't join a group?
She there?
I think Sarah went away.
Maybe she walked away from.
Yeah, I think so. And nashi also.
The noodles are boiling. Okay. So, how much time we got there, Tashi?
Well, Nasheed, I invited Nasheed.
Nashi?
Nasheed is Muslim.
Ah, thank you.
Nasheed.
Yeah, Nasheed is here. I'm here. I'm just listening.
About
I don't think I'm going to go into the breakout room.
Right, right.
Okay.
That's why you're here with us.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Well,
only
you're in,
invited
you're
me.
in a you're in a room with the host and with our guests with Noa Baum. So you're in the right room to be in.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm in the right room. I'm
It's
not
the green
going in.
room.
You're in the best.
Green room.
It's
You're
the
in the
green room
best
without the
room you could
pizza.
ever be in, my brother.
Okay, all right.
You know that back room has got the blue M&Ms? That's this one, only there's no blue M&Ms. It's just the folks here.
Okay,
What
all
made you?
right.
What made you come to the meeting, Nashi? What made you come tonight to the show?
Well, you
Good
said
question.
the peace stories. I wanted to hear peace stories. I
Mhm.
didn't know what type of peace stories, but when I tuned in, after I tuned in, I think Noah was reciting her story. So I heard what type of peace stories they are. So
Thank you.
I'd like to get this perspective on stories and peace,
Yep,
dealing with the conflict.
yep.
Mhm.
Need to hear more stories like this.
Mm.
Thank you.
So thank you for, accepting me, and Oni, thank you for inviting me.
Sure.
You're welcome, my friend.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay.
So Tashi, I think the time must be up. No?
Not quite, but I can
Not
end
quite.
it. I can't end
No,
it.
no, it's okay.
Yeah, there's a couple more minutes.
Give them that. Yep.
Mm.
Only
Y'all
what
wasting
community?
time. Y'all wasting time. Y'all should have watched the video. I
I
don't know why
know, I
y'all
thought
so
we
scared.
could if there's
Why
time.
y'all scared?
No,
Why y'all scared to
I'm
watch
open
it?
to it if we have time.
I don't know why you can't
Yeah,
watch it. It's
in
very
mind.
good videos. It'll show you another aspect of the conflict.
Right. Is it 2.5 for sure?
2:51.
3 minutes. Do we have 3 minutes,
Yeah,
Tashi?
I'll play it. I'll play it
Tashi,
right
play it and stop being scared, y'all. It's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna make you feel great.
Oh wait, hold on.
Here we
Can
go.
you hear it?
So, but that's not everybody's back. You mean you want only us to see it?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not,
And
Yeah.
religious hostilities have
Everybody's
divided people
scared
for
of Jehovah's
decades.
Witnesses.
A striking display of multinational
There's
unity
no picture.
unfolded in Tel
No
Aviv,
picture.
Israel.
Go back
There we go.
and widen it up. Thank you. You're gonna love it. There you
Oh.
go.
But now there's no sound.
Uh-oh.
Oh God.
Did you hit your sound when you went to the share screen?
We had sound a second
We had
ago.
sound, but no picture, and now we have
Okay,
picture and no
All
sound.
right, all right. Hold on. Sorry, I wasn't
It's
prepared
beautiful.
to
You're gonna
do
love
this.
it, Noah. There you go.
Can you hear it?
No.
Not yet.
No. You have to accept at the bottom.
Yeah, I was wondering if you have to accept at the bottom.
You have to accept at the bottom.
No. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Screen.
I'm sorry, you guys. This is a little complicated.
I think the most practical thing is to share the link, and then we can also share it with everybody, and then everybody can see it, because this is very hard. I mean, I can't. I see it much better on my big screen.
Okay, Noah, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's time to bring the people back. So
Okay.
I'm sorry, that wasn't.
But thank you, Ani. Yeah, definitely we would like to watch that offline there. But thanks. We'll pass that along.
All right. Everyone will be back in about a minute.
6 seconds, yeah. Ani, what community do you live in?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I'm a world citizen. I live in Tobago and I live in Philadelphia. I have 2 homes.
All right.
And I live wherever, I bloom wherever I'm planted.
There you go.
Are you out on the West Coast? Are you
Yes.
and Nancy? I used
We're
to
in
live
San
Berkeley.
Francisco.
I used to work for KPFA Radio.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Yep.
All right.
And
What
I
years
lived
were
in
you there?
Berkeley, California.
What
Wow.
years were you at
1975
KPFA?
to 77.
Wow,
Wow.
those were some
Yes.
exciting times.
Oh, yes, I had a great time. I did a documentary on Steve Biko. I did a documentary on Steve Biko on the Rastafarian movement. And what else? And I had the reggae show on Wednesdays, and I had a jazz show at night. I love KPFA.
It's the best, still going strong.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Yeah, I was in my 20s, so I was very forward thinking, more than I am now.
Only
We have
you
more
forgot
years.
about the last, the Dunbar workshop. I remember
Yes, yes.
attending that. That was wonderful as well.
Yeah, I love that. Dunbar is a literary humanitarian.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to go back up with you. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh, I love you, Pretty. Yeah, Dunbar
Okay,
reaches
welcome
everyone.
back. Welcome back.
Woo.
So who would like to share? Please this time, bravely raise your hand and, share with us.
Impressions, feelings, thoughts, all of that welcome in this safe circle.
Go, Janet. Go, Janet.
Okay.
Go, Janet.
So I started off saying that, I really don't feel like I can influence the situation in the Mideast. So all I can do is try to influence the people around me. And the best thing I can do is to listen, is to be a good listener to them. And that is a gift I can give them when I'm with them, is to listen and to understand.
Yes, thank you.
And
Absolutely.
less of my own ego. And amazingly, the other two agree with me.
Okay, Mary Alice.
I just want to say Angela had her hand up first.
Okay,
so-
Angela.
Oh,
she said Mary.
Mute.
Okay, one of you decide to do it. Okay, Mary
You-
Alice, go.
You want me to-
Angela said, go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about how in these days there's so much going on that it's easy to feel frozen, like it's too big. I can't do anything, and I think, especially as you get older and wiser, you get to be much more aware of how big it is, rather than I could throw my energy at this and solve everything. So really, for me, that thing is, can I start with practicing peace myself? Can I can I call myself a practitioner and keep going at that, to be as present as possible, to stay curious, to be on my ground so that I can try to be helpful. And I said to my two in the room that I wanted to read this quote from Thomas Merton, who was a Catholic monk and a writer and an activist, but it's called Abandoned Success. Do not depend on the hope of results. You may have to face the fact that your work will be apparently worthless and even achieve no result at all, if not perhaps results opposite to what you expect.
Mm.
As you get used to this idea, you start more and more to concentrate not on the results, but on the value, the rightness, the truth of the work itself. Gradually, you struggle less and less for an idea and more for specific people. In the end, it is the reality of personal relationships that saves everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Angela.
I wanted to ask, the recording that you're doing, is that made public at some point, or how?
Yeah.
Is that
Parts of it, I think we started recording
little bit
late. So we can also
can you
not
edit?
do this part. We
Okay.
can also edit this part.
Okay. Because I don't mind sharing it here, but I'd rather it not be beyond that.
Mhm.
But I have recently gone back to my 12-step program meetings, and I've been 30. I'm 37 years sober, and I'm very touched and moved again and newly, because I haven't been in the room for the meetings because I taught online during COVID, but in the last couple months I've been going back, and I'm so touched by the form of the meetings, in that we have a seat and we have a turn, and it is part of the structure of the meeting that we will not comment on anything somebody said. We will not crosstalk. We're not going to comment on what they said. We're going to speak from our own experience. And I so appreciate that form because it allows me to really listen, because no response is being required of me. I'm being asked not to respond within the meeting walls on what I hear, but it helps me land and breathe and identify, take what I need and leave the rest, And there's other 12-step groups that I'm crossing paths with, and it's just really powerful. And I'm just struck by the oral tradition of the 12-step program and the permission that it gives everyone.
Right. Yeah. Because the world is so filled with, I think, oh yeah, well, I think this, oh yeah, well, I think that.
Yeah.
And all these things and opinions just end up being this mudslinging about whose opinions and thoughts are the best ones, the truth.
Yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you.
She's way.
Hi. I'm looking forward to the recording because I had some reception problems and I missed the parts of Noah's presentation. And I really want to hear the whole thing. I may actually go look for the book. I wanted to say, I live in San Francisco and I live in a part of town where there were a lot of Jewish kids. I went to school with a lot of kids, that were having bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs and getting their noses fixed and all this. And some of them went to kibbutzes in the summer. And I'm actually Jewish by ex-marriage. I still have the last name Siegel, and it's misspelled Zeigel. And my father-in-law, my ex's parents became communists because they thought that the way forward was to leave behind the divisiveness of religions. But then, it turned out that there were still, that wasn't necessarily the solution. But I sort of grew up sort of intimately knowing all of these really shy Jewish kids that we didn't actually talk much, but we communicated on a nonverbal level. So I felt that we understood each other on a very deep level. And then I also live in a city where a lot of the corner groceries and, the falafel shops and the liquor stores are owned by folks from the Middle East. And some of them are Palestinian and some of them are from Syria or Jordan or other places. But I'm the kind of person, my grandmother ran a Skid Row hotel in Stockton. And she was the kind of person that even with her very limited English, she could communicate with everybody. And she just listened to everybody with an open heart. So I sort of inherited that from her. And I just want to tell you a couple of stories. One is, with this whole thing that's been going on, my heart has been breaking for all my Jewish friends and all the Jewish people, both here and in Israel, Palestine. But it's breaking for all of the Arab and Muslim people I know as well. And I felt so helpless. And one day, a few days after Christmas, I was out at Land's End just looking at the waves and thinking about the bombing that was going on like 20 miles from the Egyptian border and just feeling the pain of that. And I ran into a couple. She was wearing a hijab and a long gown, and he was wearing a baseball cap and a jacket. And we started talking, and I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "Kalamazoo." And I said, "Oh, is that anywhere near Dearborn? And how are you treated there?" And so we talked a little bit about the situation in the US for Arabs in that area. He says, "We live in a bubble." we go outside of that bubble, people are not so welcoming. But, you know, in Kalamazoo, people are friendly, blah, blah, blah. And then I asked, do you mind if I ask where you're from originally? He says, you don't want to know. I said, but I do. I know a lot of Middle Eastern people in San Francisco, and I care about them. And I told him the story that the first person I went to check on the 9/11, you know, and after watching the news for an hour, I ran out to check on my Palestinian grocer, my corner grocer, to make sure he was okay. So he says, this guy, this stranger says, after I told him that story, he says, okay, we're from Gaza. And his wife says, and my mother and my brother and sister-in-law are still there. And I just started to tear up. And you know what she did? She reached out and hugged me. And we just shared this moment. And then she said, we are not going anywhere. We have been through this so many times before. We are not going anywhere. And it was just a beautiful moment. Oh, and then he said, you know, most people, I think, just want to get along with each other. But the way that the system is, the extremists on both sides are making it impossible. You can be sent to prison. You can have things happen to you if you speak out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. But there's still the message of your share is that it in a way takes so little to be able to open your heart and have an awakened mind with the people who are different from you, and to engage them and to embrace them and find that human common ground. Yeah, it seems overbearing, it seems overwhelming, it seems like you know, what can we do? It's so big. But I think what you're all saying is listen, and listen to a lot of people. Don't stay in your own little bubble. Maybe go places where you can listen to someone who you've not listened to before, right? It's the only way. I mean, and this country is in big trouble too, you know? We need to do something also. We can vote. We can vote for the people who support peace, who support the ceasefire. We can vote for people who understand humanity, who have a heart. But yeah, go, please.
Nancy?
Yes.
Donna.
Just the one thing that I might add, besides voting, is now that I know that Combatants for Peace exists, which I did not know before I joined this gathering, I, for one, I'm going to write a check and send it to them.
Yes, yes. Yeah. That is definitely
as soon as I can find them. I'm assuming
they're on. You can Google them.
And Noah has many resources.
I've prepared a list of organizations that work for peace that you can support. And I think we're going to give it at the end, or we're going to give
make it into a document and send it to all of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their emails.
So there's several organizations that could use, and I also wanted to add a new thing. I'm going to put it in the chat. This is a young man that I know, a Palestinian man from Gaza, who is part of a program of Israeli and Palestinians that come to DC to work on a leadership program that I used to work with. And he's trying to get his family out of Gaza now.
Oh,
and
right. I donated to that, yeah.
So I'm trying to help him. So this is one little thing you could do. He's not somebody who supports Hamas. He's not somebody who supports this violence. He's just a lovely, lovely guy. So,
And I'm sure many lovely guys and women and children.
And another place, and you might be putting this on your list, is the Middle East Children's Alliance.
Do you have that?
well, what I have on the list is mainly organizations where Israelis and Palestinians work together.
Okay. Okay. Well,
but there's other things there as well.
Well, I have for a long time. I've supported the Middle East Children's Alliance, which basically supports Palestinians in both Gaza and the West Bank. But anyway, I just
if you could put that in the chat.
You asking me?
Yes.
Yeah,
we can add that to the list.
I think the strategy of putting things in chats during Zoom meetings is that when the Zoom meeting is over, the chat disappears.
If you save.
No, you can save it. You can save. You can save the chat. You can save the chat.
Little tiny buttons.
There's a little button that said, but if we will save it and we will add your link to that list. And I think also Oni has put in a link for a film, a short film that she wanted us to watch. And so we'll put that on the list as well.
Okay.
Angelo.
Angelo?
Really quickly, because we're running out of time and we want to.
Yeah, I just want to say that those of us that were in the breakout room together, our group, we actually know each other from other places, and it was so sweet to see each other.
Yes.
And we haven't been in a room together, and so I just want to thank you. Thank you. That's all.
Yeah,
So
you're
amazing.
welcome. Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that. It was a nice group.
Right.
All right, so now we want to thank you again for all coming, and particularly Noa. And Noa, you have something coming up soon, right? And we have another song to play for you, which is powerful.
Well, it's not related to this issue at all.
Right.
But I have a few places left for my online class that starts on Monday. So if anybody's interested in working on personal stories on Zoom, it's Monday nights, 4 Mondays in March. Are you going to put the link up?
The flyer should be up. Tashi?
So it's 4 Mondays in March from 7 to 9 Eastern time in the evening.
And they can also Google you, right, Noa?
Yeah.
And it's on your
There's the link.
webpage.
Yeah, there's the link. So
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the flyer. I don't know where Tashi.
it's okay. We and there's just like 2 spaces left. So if somebody wants to join us, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Can you tell me how to save the chat? I've never heard of that.
It's on the top of the chat, on the bottom of the chat.
If you look in chat, there should be little dots somewhere. Where did they go?
I see type
File.
message here at the bottom. Is it
Where-
one of those icons?
Well, it used to be there that you could save.
It's on the right
it's at the
side
top.
of the icons.
It's
at
at
the
the
top
top.
now.
I saw it on the bottom
There you
just now.
go.
See those 3 little dots at the top
Right next
Of
to
the chat box.
of the chat box?
Yeah.
I
Maybe-
see
maybe,
meeting
yeah.
chat, and I see 2 icons, an X and an icon on the right. I don't see any dots.
No dots.
So-
There's 3 dots in a row, horizontal.
You may have to widen your screen.
They're on the
No,
bottom
it's
row.
on the bottom. It's not on the top. So if
It's
Some
on the
have it on-
bottom where you
Depends
send a
on when you
message.
updated
Yeah,
your
some
Zoom.
have it on the top. Some
Oh,
have
I
it
see
on
the dots.
bottom.
I
Yeah.
click those dots.
And then you can scroll down and you'll see save the chat.
It
Okay.
opens a menu.
Okay, I did. And then where will it be saved?
To somewhere on your computer.
In a folder that Zoom makes, inside your documents,
Right.
it says Zoom is the name of the folder, and the chat will be there.
Well, for me, when I get off of the particular meeting, the chat is right there in front of me. So it's not, I don't have.
If you saved it,
You don't have to look for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. We
All
should,
right. So let us end with this beautiful song, and that we wish all of you.
all of you are lights of hope
Yeah.
and peace, and we all will keep that spirit going
Yeah.
as we light candles in the dark. Candles in the Dark is the title of the song, also by Mira and
Noa.
Noah.
And if you like what's happened, please donate so we can share some moolah with Noah.
Yeah.
And we donate by just emailing you and getting the link or whatever?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. That link should be in this chat too. Tasha, can you put that in the link? You can just go to our website /donate, I think.
Okay.
Right. And we have a few announcements after the song, so
Yeah.
don't hang up yet.
And a final thank you.
Yeah.
But here's the song. It's wonderful.
Candle in the Dark. Uh-oh. Sound.
Sound again.
وإن عدت فطورك فكر بغيرك لا تنس قوت الحمام وأنت تخوض حروبك فكر بغيرك من يطلبون السلام وأنت تسدد ساتورة الماء فكر بغيرك من يرضعون الغمام وأنت تعود إلى بيتك فكر بغيرك لا تنس شعب الخيام وأنت تنام وتحصي الكواكب فكر بغيرك من لم يجد حيزا للمنام وأنت تحرر نفسك بالاستعارات فكر بغيرك من فقدوا حقهم في الكلام وأنت تفكر بالآخرين البعيدين فكر بنفسك قل ليتني شمعة في الظلام ليتني شمعة في الظلام
When you prepare your evening meal, think of how the others feel. Don't forget to feed the hungry dove. When you wage your wars with guns, think of all the other ones, those who still believe in peace and love. When you pay for running water, think of someone's son or daughter, nursed by clouds beneath the starry dome. When you return from work tonight, think of others and their plight, those who live in camps but dream of home. When you lay your head to rest, dreaming deep, remember those who have no place to sleep. When you let your words run free in rhyme and tongue in cheek, remember those who lost their very right to speak. And as you think of others far away, think of yourself and say, if only I could be a candle in the dark. I wish I were a candle in the dark. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. This song is a poem by Mahmoud Darwish, the late Palestinian poet, who I put to music and Noah translated into English. And now we would love for you to join in with us. Would you do that? Sing together, right? Let's start with the Arabic, the original language of this song. So it goes like this. ليتني ليتني شمعة
في الظلام ليتني 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 شمعة في الظلام والمتعب ليتني شمعة في الظلام. Now we'll try the Hebrew. Lu Haiti, Lu Haiti, Lu Haiti, Neba Afela. Now you. Lu Haiti, Lu Haiti, Lu Haiti, Neba Afela. Beautiful again. Beautiful. Should we try the English again? Here we go. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle in the dark. You go. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle. Thank you. Let's do it one more time. If only I could be, if only I could be a candle. You are a candle in the dark. Exactly. And because you are such candles in the dark, we're going to do something amazing now. Each one of you choose the language, and we're going to do it together, and you'll see how it's going to work. Okay? Let's do it.
So, I know, beautiful. Shall we all retire tonight and think about being the candle in the dark? We love you all. Thank you so much for coming and staying with us to the end.